Serious about business.
Serious about business.
Business Access TV is here at the JSC Core Competencies to Excel as a Corporate Secretary. I'm your host, Andrew Laidley. Please stay with us.
I wish to welcome you to yet another workshop, Corporate Secretaries Workshop. As you know, we have these workshops each year, and the reason we continue to do so is that we feel that we should be at the cutting edge of any changes that is occurring in whether locally or globally. We feel that the workshops have been beneficial to us so far, and that with each day when we have these changes, we should continue to look at educating the persons in this industry. This morning and this workshop is very special, as we will be hosting, it is being hosted in association with the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators. And as we move towards introducing the Corporate Governance Index, I think today is especially important so that we can see how this can be incorporated into what we do as company secretaries and others within the industry. It is especially important that we look at this to see how our companies will score higher in terms of corporate governance. Today is intended to be a very good workshop based on the persons who will be presenting. So I invite you to stay tuned, ask the relevant questions, and ensure that when we leave here, we can implement what we have learned.
The Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators is an institution that certifies secretaries, chartered secretaries, and I believe it is the only institution in the world that does that. It's incorporated by Royal Charter and has its base in England, London, England. And our dear leader, Simon Osborne, is the CEO of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries. In Jamaica, we have the Association of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators, which is a branch of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries. Today, we are very happy to be hosting this seminar with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and I hope that what we present today, you might find something to take away from it, because we are going to try to give you something practical that you can use in your everyday life.
Governance has to suit each jurisdiction. One size cannot fit all. Even within a peer group of companies engaged in similar activities, similar business, because the dynamic is going to be different, because the business conditions are going to be different, the governance framework will necessarily be different. And as you comply or explain, also within a peer group of companies doing the same, broadly the same activity, you will find that they comply in different ways. And that's the beauty of a code of principles. So what do we mean by governance? The Cadbury definition, the process by which an organization is directed or controlled. The other perceived virtue of corporate governance on the part of politicians and policymakers is that it leads to increased opportunities and choice for all. Now that's one of those wonderful glib expressions that rolls off the tongue of a politician. And it sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But what on earth does it mean? As a political aspiration, it's great. Opportunities and choice for all. Hurrah, yeah, we'll all vote for that. But can we really expect corporate governance to deliver such an overtly political objective? I'll leave that one hanging in the air. Poor old Bob Diamond, he gets a bit of a caning over this one. he did actually say that corporate governance is not how you behave when you think no one is watching. He did actually say that. But I think it's a good reminder that, there's no point trying to do one thing, say one thing and do another. That sort of hypocrisy, you'll get found out eventually. The truth will always out. Governance is concerned with the exercise of power, the role of directors, the responsibilities of shareholders, and how those are balanced. And it also deals with disclosure, transparency, accountability, internal control, and making sure you avoid that concentration of power in too few hands. Hence the desire, it's now become standard, certainly in the UK. America's finding it harder, but actually separating the roles of chairman and chief executive so that you achieve a more constructive tension at the top levels in the C-suite. What are some of the governance hot topics? Well, I don't know what it's like here, but remuneration in the UK never ceases to amaze me. And the way in which non-executive directors serving on remuneration committees aren't smelling the coffee, I just don't get it. But and the United States is just as bad. And what that is leading to is remuneration which is detached from performance, or levels of remuneration detached from performance, are just leading to increasing inequality of wealth. And I think that could lead to unfortunate consequences socially. And it's something that has to be tackled. Hot topic. Legal risk has risen up the scale of corporate risks. The whole board diversity thing, gender is a major factor, but there is no doubt about it, board behaviour improves the more women join the board. And I know that from my own experience, funny enough, in a charity where I was deputy chair and I chaired the nomination committee. And I had to wield the knife. I removed 6 older male trustees, brought in 4 ladies, all of whom were younger. The average age came down. The speed with which business was transacted improved. Shorter board meetings, I'll drink to that, made a difference. Now that's one example, but I think there's no doubt about it that I think the presence of women in boardrooms adds beneficially to the decision-making process. You've got the whole responsible capitalism issue, the managing of stakeholders and accountability to wider stakeholders. And that, interestingly, has led to the appointment of a committee now for a code of governance for private companies. I think that's long overdue in the UK. When you think about some of the bigger private companies, and I'm sure you've got them here, if one of those collapses, the impact on the economy and on the government could be significant. And then the whole question of board evaluations. Following the financial crisis, ICSA did some work on boardroom behaviours, the conclusion of which were 4 uncomfortable truths. Well-run companies can make strategic and sometimes catastrophic misjudgments. Risk management not properly overseen, monitored or reviewed by the board. Often it was just left to the audit committee. It's a board responsibility, is oversight of risk. Remuneration and incentivization not aligned with shareholders' interests, and a failure to inform stakeholders, not just shareholders, stakeholders, sufficiently. That work we did identified 3 areas needing attention. Institutional. Are corporate governance policies and architecture fit for purpose? Has management installed adequate processes and systems? And are directors exhibiting appropriate behaviours? So we had there the institutional, the organisational, and the behavioural. Now, we identified in that work that good practice boardroom behaviour was characterised by those 9 features. So clear understanding of the board's role. The board is there to oversee the management of the business. The board is not there to manage the business. And non-executive directors forget it's a case of noses in, fingers out. They smell the state of the business, they don't finger it. Does this business pass the smell test? Once the non-executive directors start interfering in the management of the business, it's very hard to hold an executive to account. You can't. You've syndicated the responsibility and the liability. Appropriate deployment of knowledge, skills, experience and judgment. So what balance of those have you got on the board? Independent thinking. Assumptions and established orthodoxy need to be questioned. Challenge has to be constructive. If people come onto a board full of suspicion or just trying to show off what a tough guy I am, I'll show these executives up for a load of incompetent idiots. If that's the mentality which a non-executive has, they're asking for trouble because it will just lead to tension, in fact conflict on the board. Non-executive directors have to be constructive friends of the management team. Can't overemphasize that. Constructive friends. Yes, and it's knowing how to challenge in a way which doesn't put people's backs up. And it requires a skill, emotional intelligence for a start. Yes, there has to be rigorous debate. The decision-making environment has to be supportive. There needs to be a shared vision. And for the chair, it's vital to close each item of business in a timely way, not let it go round and round and round ad nauseam. That's not the way to do it.
We go to a short break. More when we return.
Dodge & Global offers a CPA scholarship program to team members who join our team. A career in accountancy at Dodge & Global is a great choice and can offer you excellent job prospects. We believe that an accounting education is the greatest gift you can give yourself or anyone else. Few gifts make as significant an impact as the gift of an accountancy education with a job. It's a contribution that lasts a lifetime in the form of learning, opportunity, and success. Join our team and get the opportunity to be part of our CPA scholarship program. This scholarships awards program will be administered by the HR department of Dodge & Global. Requirements: first degree in accounting, employed at Dodge & Global, willing to pursue the CPA examination. Here's how to apply. Submit application to Staff Accountant, Dodge & Global, email sa@dodgen.com.
Welcome back to BATV's coverage of the JSE core competencies to excel as a corporate secretary.
We are now going to have a panel discussion, as you will see, and members of the local chapter will be participating, and Mrs. Henry Pottinger is going to be the moderator, and they're going to be talking about things that happen in a very practical way.
How rewarding is your job as a company secretary? Any tips that you can give to budding company secretaries, people who are waiting in the wings to take over your jobs? For me, I enjoy my job. I will not work anywhere else until I retire than with KPMG. As to rewarding, yes, it is rewarding in many respects. I like to see that the people who I work with, they are enabled, they are eloquent, they can answer questions from shareholders, they deal with matters like that with alacrity, and they are very responsive.
It's not glamorous in the sense that if the reward you're looking for is your name in lights, it's clearly the wrong profession for you. So I'm glad that Liz actually said the word enable because you are an enabler. You're a facilitator. You know, we all understand, certainly after listening to Simon this morning, the importance of corporate governance. Well, all of that falls on your shoulders for you to administer. You pull it together. You keep all the moving pieces going in unison, and you don't, there will be no naming lights, certainly not where I operate for that. So if that's what you, but it can be, obviously it's very rewarding in other ways. Just in terms of tips, I can't stress enough, well, there are two main things I'll say. One is that just you have to have a high level of administrative capability, and whether that, and obviously you can't do it on your own. So whether it means an internal team or going for external support, you have to be extremely organized, and you have to make sure that you create a lot of systems which allow you to ensure that you comply with all the requirements that you have, which are numerous. Other than that, I can't stress enough the importance of what we keep calling soft skills, but they're not soft at all because they're critical for the role. Definitely, there's a higher level of judgment and diplomacy and management of relationships of people which is involved. You know, we talked a little bit earlier about the relationship between, the tension between management and the board, which can sometimes exist. And in that case, your role is critical because you really are the diplomat who has to kind of navigate those two relationships and those two different sets of roles within a company. So that there's no, I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that you develop your relationships and that you manage personalities.
I recall some years ago I did a document for my chairman, and you know, I went to him and I'm explaining to him what it is that I'm doing and what it is that he needs. He says to me, where I must sign. So it gives you that level of confidence and trust, and to ensure that what you're doing and what you're presenting is correct. And you must build up that whole self-integrity so that, you know, it is not questioned. And I feel that if I have to take something to somebody and they ask me, so where is this or what is that? I do my own self-assessment, because when I do a document, it says where, what, when, why, who, and so forth. So I ask myself those questions so that, you know, you can develop that trust when you're working with somebody.
The job is really very, very interesting. The things that come across your desk are amazing, dynamic, invigorating, challenging. Scope is very, very diverse. Corporate governance has really taken its hold, rather, on Jamaica and within the Caribbean. There is just so much that we have to learn and offer to our clients and to ourselves. Certainly, if someone is looking at this as a profession, I think corporate governance is the way to go. That's just me personally. You will always assist and help your clients, you know, but there's always a nuance on what has occurred, what should have been done, and how we're going to correct it. And that's what I love about it. And working with PwC and my team, we have just so much to do. You've got to be very structured, lists, and more lists. You have to be very detail-oriented and be able to pick up, and very meticulous, and be able to pick up errors very easily.
In my role as a corporate secretary, the reward for me is I am constantly learning. Every day there is something that I didn't know, or something now that I have to go and know. And it is, no 2 days are ever the same. Especially in our company, which we tend to be very entrepreneurial, the ideas come, and as a company secretary and as compliance, I have to research to say, can it be done, can it not be done? Would this be in breach of anything? I would also advise that the regulators are good allies. You know, from where I sit, I call them a lot because I need their guidance. They are more intimate with the laws and regulations and how they interpret what I am asking them to just bounce things off. So I would ask you to use them up. You know, the company's office, the stock exchange, the Bank of Jamaica, the FSC, they're all very open to questions. No one has said no to me yet. Even if they don't know the answer, they'll research it and get back to us. And our real success lies in having a great team behind us, including KPMG. And
Thank you.
and our team in Dormrep, Trinidad and Jamaica that supports me, because we just could not do it alone.
Thanks a lot, ladies. I hope then that those of you in the audience found something informative, instructive, that you can take away from this panel discussion.
Coming up after the break, what companies need to know about the Corporate Governance Index. Welcome back to BATV's coverage of the JSE core competencies to excel as a corporate secretary.
So what is this corporate governance index that we have been talking about? And it really is a tool that has been developed to measure how all entities that are listed, at least surely for us listed on the stock exchange, how it conforms to various established corporate governance principles. Now, typically, the index has a numerical value, right, where the extremes of the values are overall good and poor. And also, it assists in improving the transparency and ultimately FDI for countries, because research has shown that countries and surely listed companies, like using the stock exchanges that have a corporate governance index, especially when there's not very strong regulatory environment for them to operate within, the corporate governance index has actually helped to create greater investment opportunities. And what the research has shown is that countries with the indices have shown significant growth in corporate governance practices. So let's talk a little about the corporate governance index in Jamaica. And the index has been developed by the Jamaica Stock Exchange. As I indicated before, it's the first for the Caribbean region. The process that is being utilized is that it's going to be automatic, so that whether you're listed on the junior market or you're listed on the main market, you are going to be assessed using the index manual. So the purpose of the index, as stated by the Jamaica Stock Exchange, is to first of all periodically measure listed companies' conformance to required corporate governance principles and practices. It also should help to give companies an opportunity to differentiate themselves from other companies, because while all companies are listed and expected to be guided by certain principles and certain rules and certain legislations, you can differentiate yourself by the score that you probably will get based on the fact that you are adhering to a number of these principles. It will also provide a benchmark by which other parties, external parties, locally and internationally now, can gauge companies' adherence to corporate governance practices.
Every year, we have a workshop for the corporate secretary, because we realize that they are an integral part of the corporate governance and effectiveness of publicly listed companies, whether it's on the junior exchange or the big board. And we were fortunate in that the head of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of the UK was coming on a visit to Jamaica to meet with the Jamaica Stock Exchange, because we are in the process of representing them in providing training and continuing development for corporate secretaries, persons who want to be corporate secretaries. And as a matter of fact, there is an upcoming fast track that's going to be available for attorneys and chartered accountants who invariably are performing the duties of the chartered secretary, and what it will allow them to do is to have the formal chartered secretary designation. So we felt that this was very important to continue to lift the profile of the chartered secretary and their role in listed companies.
I thought the conference was excellent, actually. The seminar was excellent. It touched on very important aspects that are critical for the development of our businesses within Jamaica and internationally, and for our companies, concentrating on corporate governance and the amendments that have just occurred in the Companies Act and why corporate governance is so important. So I encourage everyone to be at the next seminar.
The governance is here to stay. There's no doubt about that. And it's the proportionate application of governance principles which is so important in all types of organisation. But in order to be able to do that, every organisation needs to be clear about its organisational purpose. Then the board, the directors, need to be clear about the key values by which that purpose is going to be delivered. Only then can you devise a governance framework for your particular type of organisation. Every organisation, however big, however small, needs to do that.
Who does corporate governance benefit again?
Obviously, it benefits the companies themselves, it benefits their shareholders as the owners, or if it's an unincorporated body, the members. But it also benefits wider society. I think that's the important point. Their employees, those with whom they do business, and ultimately it benefits the government, because if an enterprise fails and is employing people and it fails because of poor governance practices, the ultimate responsibility financially was going to fall on the government, for example in social security payouts for unemployed people. I think also if companies fail because of poor governance, it doesn't reflect well on the country. And for a country that is trying to entice inward investment, if the governance framework isn't up to snuff, as we say, then that could have a potentially negative effect. So good governance, it just makes sense. There's plenty of anecdotal evidence too that good governance enhances reputation. It also, for organisations, particularly commercial ones, reduces the cost of capital. It just makes sense.
That's it from us here at the JSC Core Competencies to Excel as a Corporate Secretary. I've been your host, Andrew Laidley, and thanks for tuning in to Business Access TV. Serious about business.
I'm Butch Hendrickson. You're watching BATV, Serious About Business.
Welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm Theodore Henry. One thing has come under the microscope as the world grapples with COVID-19 is access to food. You've seen the rush on supermarkets, and yes, our farmers continue to grow, but how can you supplement the food available from those sources? We explore that and other issues in today's program. Stay with me as I take you through the pages.
What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport. and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Before we go any further, I don't think we can stress this enough, so here goes. Coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that cause illnesses ranging from the common cold to more severe respiratory diseases. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes, just like the common cold and flu. So let's review some of the common indicators you need to look out for. Respiratory symptoms, such as fever, cough, shortness of breath, and difficulty breathing. But check this, severe cases can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, kidney failure, and even death. Unfortunately, at this moment, there is no known cure for COVID-19, but preventative measures can be taken. Guys, remember, wash your hands. Cough in your elbow, or cough and sneeze in a tissue, and please throw it away after you've used it once. Practice social distance and let us do what's best as we aim to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business in good health.
Don't make diseases spread. Wash your hands with soap and water instead. Wash them regular or use a hand sanitizer. Make sure the germs them dead. Touching your eyes or your mouth or your nose. Wash your hands before you do things like those. After you use the bathroom before preparing food, come on, wash your hand them clean.
One of the things doctors advise now is to boost your immune system. And you do that by eating foods rich in vitamin C and other critical nutrients. But have you considered that you can grow quite a few of those and you don't need a farm to do it? Right now might be a good time to start some backyard gardening and grow healthy foods that boost your health and save your pockets. Check this out.
This garden is beautiful, right? Well, it took quite some time and a lot of hard work to get it to this stage. Did you get it in someone's backyard? It is. Backyard gardening is one sure way of eating healthy and saving money. Today, both you and I will be learning some important pointers on growing our very own garden. So, come, let's dig some dirt.
With me is Master Gardener Rashida Linton. She'll be telling us what to consider when choosing a location for a garden. Rashida, this looks like a good enough location.
It is. This is quite okay. You need to ensure that your property is located in an area that receives anywhere from 6 to 8 hours of sunlight per day. Okay. In fact, you need to also ensure that it gets adequate amount of water. It could be either a water tank, a roof gutter, or just a simple tap. You know what? Chris, he's well informed, very experienced. This is his property. Okay. He'll be able to tell you anything you want to know. Chris, this is Kerry. Kerry, this is Chris. She's interested in farming. Please tell her anything she wants to know. See you guys later.
Okay. All right, later. Chris, look like we're going to do some farming. Good. Yeah, all right.
Get geared up. You'll need gloves and rubber boots. First, clear the land of stones, tins, broken glass, or other types of trash and large sticks or plastics that will hinder your plant's growth. Next, use the fork to dig the area and loosen the soil. You may want to make sure that you fork at least 10 to 12 inches or roughly 25 to 35 centimeters so that your plant roots grow easily. This is also the time that you should add whatever animal manure you have to the soil. Also, you may consider adding sand to improve soil structure and drainage. You want a nice crumbly texture. How much manure do you need? Use 1 kilogram or about 2.5 pounds of chicken manure or 4 kilograms or 8 pounds of cow dung or goat manure to 1 square meter or a yard-sized bed. Fork the manure well into the soil and keep forking to mount a raised bed that is at least 3 feet wide or 90 centimeters and 20 to 30 centimeters or 1 to 12 inches high. Keeping the width at 3 feet will make it easier for you to sow, weed, water, and reap from the outside in without having to reach too far. To further ensure that your soil is free from pests and diseases, cover the soil with plastic for a few weeks. Cut large garbage bags down to the side seams and lay them on top of the soil to cover. You can use stones around the edges to keep the bags in place. The plastic covering will allow the soil to get heated in the sun, and over time, this will kill most of the insects, pests, and viruses that might be living in the soil. If you are fencing your plot, you should do that now too. Dig holes at least 1 foot or 30 centimeters. These holes should be at least 2 feet away from each corner of your raised bed. This will give you enough room to walk around as well as bend for sowing, weeding, and watering. Next, one by one, set your fence posts in each hole and fill them in. Then, nail chicken wire around your plot, making sure to leave an opening for entrance and exit.
This is good, but you know, you don't have to go through all this trouble. There is a much simpler way, especially for persons who don't have enough space. It is called containerized gardening. You need to ensure that you have access to good amount of water along with 6 to 8 hours of sunlight per day. In fact, Bridget has a containerized garden. Let's go and see her.
All right. Chris, thanks.
Thank you. Bridget. This is Kerry. Kerry, this is Bridget.
Hi.
Bridget has a container garden. Kerry is interested in doing containerized gardening. Please give her all the information she needs. Later, guys.
All right,
Later.
then. Take care.
Later.
Hi, Kerry.
Hi.
You have actually come good time because I'm just about to transplant some tomatoes.
Okay.
Right. So, this is my container.
When you grow in containers, you must have a proper drainage. If you buy clay or plastic flower pots, they will have holes punched in the bottom for this purpose. But if you are making your own, you must make sure you punch holes in the bottoms and sides so that the plants won't get waterlogged and develop root rot. As for getting the right soil mix, making sure you have really good healthy soil is even more important in container gardening than it is in raised bed gardening. That's because the soil in pots is shallower and can dry out more easily. Most container plants do best with a mix of soils. 1 part loamy soil, 1 part sand, and 1 part humus. Because potted soil does not easily retain nutrients, you should add 6 tablespoons of fertilizer to soil. Once you've put the right mix of soil in your pots, allow them to settle for a week or 2 before planting. The next thing to think about is choosing the right crop to grow in your pots. The most ideal plants for container gardening are callaloo, tomato, peppers, lettuce, cabbage, cucumber, legumes, condiments, and herbs.
Thank you so much, Miss Williams, for all your help. Boy, backyard gardening, not easy. But hey, at least now we know about site selection and container gardening. Backyard living, not bad at all.
Protect yourself from the flu virus. Visit your nearest health center or doctor to get the flu vaccine. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water or by using an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid the spread of germs by not touching your eyes, mouth, or nose. And be sure to regularly disinfect surfaces and objects that are used often. Remember, your health is your responsibility.
As you get your backyard or side yard or veranda gardening going, a good way to keep those plants healthy is using natural fertilizer made from your own table scraps. That's right, we're gonna show you how to set up your own composting at home.
Compost is one of the richest form of soil nutrient. So here we are buying fertilizer for huge sums of money, when in fact we are throwing away something which is richer in many regards than what we are buying, spending hard cash for. We, from time to time, do what we call garbage characterization survey. This is where we actually go island-wide and take samples of the garbage and look at what make up the garbage. All the surveys that are done in recent past points to one particular set of dynamic. The compostables are always the highest. 67% in some survey, 65 in some. We eat vegetables. We do ground provisions, the peelings from those. We use cardboards, newspapers, lots of stuff that can be broken down and can be put to good use. With such a high percentage of the solid waste being compostable, we are therefore forced to look at how we're going to manage in the best way possible, in the most efficient way possible, that high percentage of the garbage.
Composting is a rich form of soil that is broken down by microorganisms to become either fertilizer or soil. Now we're going to do a demonstration to show you how we can do it. First, if we're starting, this is our kitchen waste. So if you're starting a compost bin at home, you need to get your kitchen peel, your banana, your lettuce, your cabbage, your tomatoes, and you cut them in finer particles. It will make it break down much faster. In order for the microorganism to work effectively, you need moisture, you need air, and you need heat. You can use a hand shovel or your hands. Too much moisture will allow the stuff to rot and it won't be compost. And if it is too dry, the microorganisms won't be able to work effectively. So you need to get a right mixture. If you squeeze it with a fist, you shouldn't have any water running out of it. If it's dripping, it is okay. If it is running out of it, that means you have too much water. So now this is our compost. If you keep this moisture in your compost, it will give you a maturity rate of 3.5 months. And you'll get this final product, which is this right here. Compost, what it does, the longer it stays into the ground, is the richer it becomes. We're going to demonstrate how we use our compost for potting. We're going to pot a few plants using our compost. This plant is called spider fern. It is an indoor plant that does like a fair amount of water. It likes a light mixture. The composting can be used for indoor and outdoor plants. This plant is called a bougainvillea. It is an outdoor plant. It likes a lot of sunlight. It blooms a lot, and it likes dry areas. The compost is offer drainage. It doesn't keep the water too long. This is now 6 weeks old, and this is 3 weeks after being planted as a seedling, using our compost. And this bougainvillea is 6 weeks after being planted by our compost. And they're just blooming, blooming, blooming. This is a mature spider fern that we use for our rentals, and this is about 2.5 months old.
At the NSWMA, the parks that we manage, the beautiful flowers that you see there, the composting that is used to fertilize these plants are actually done within the department here at Parks and Gardens.
The other benefit is that we at the NSWMA, we would need less trucks. Now, right now, our biggest problem is trucks to remove garbage. Can you imagine if we could take out the 67%, which we could convert at source? What that would do to our national budget? Gas oil, repairs of trucks, labor to work on the trucks. Just look at it. It is huge savings that could come. Exponential is about getting a behavioral change at source that will see significant reduction in solid waste. We want to see this reduction and to see it in a very tangible way. And we believe that composting provides an excellent opportunity.
properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Regularly wash your hands for 20 seconds. By now, we're all aware that this is one of our best defenses against getting infected with the novel coronavirus. That also applies when you're busy digging in the soil and planting crops. Check out this innovative, cost-effective method.
Based on laws imposed by the United States, Jamaican farmers are required to be certified under the Food Safety Modernization Act, as well as the Global Good Agricultural Practices Global GAP, if they want to export to that country. Given this development, the Rural Agricultural Development Authority RADA saw the need to introduce a hand wash station for farmers. It's part of the measures to assist local growers improve sanitation on their farms and fulfill one criteria for export certification.
The concept behind this is just a little bit different. Usually other hand wash stations will have a gravity-fed system, but what we've done, we have incorporated a system that was developed here locally several years now, where we used the pump and spray that was introduced some time ago. Although it was introduced for the same concept in terms of showing and things like that, we have used the features of the pump and spray to add a little bit more dynamics to our presentation here, where you have a pressurized system. So that calls for a person's self. One person can actually wash their hands here without assistance from somebody else. So you'd go there without contaminating that water source that you have.
This hand wash station is not only affordable, it is also easy to assemble. All you need is an iron trolley, 3 oil kegs, a pump and spray instrument, and some PVC pipes and fittings.
From there, at a local welder, we modify the trolley, and in a way that we could install the kegs. So here we have the trolley, and we weld the handles, so it would be able to hold the keg steadily. And this is a pump and spray that we can get locally. So how it works is that a farmer or anybody who is working in the field would come by the wash station. He would get some soap on his hand, okay, and he would pump. He would pump the system. The system, the pair would pressurize the bottle, and in return, air will displace the water, and the water will comes up, and then the farmer would wash. After washing, the farmer wouldn't have to touch anything to contaminate his hands. He would just move over to the hand towel and dry his hands.
It was good. I enjoyed doing it. It wasn't hard at all. It was just easy. Just put my foot and pump it. Water just come up, and I wash my hands.
The effects of not having a hand wash station, well, it's really more for safety as it relates to you, the farmer, because what RADA's mandate is also about is to educate farmers on best practices as it relates to agriculture, and the farmer's safety is a part of the best practices that we are trying to encourage out there.
The team also successfully designed a water pump made using a weed hacker, which can fill a 50-gallon drum in 5 minutes.
This walker can be used for more than one purpose. So a farmer can have a walker but need a water pump, cannot afford a water pump. Now what the farmer can do is just easily retrofit the walker and a pump, merge them together so that he can have a water pump and a walker. So at times, whenever the farmer need a walker, he just remove the pump and put on the walker section.
Farming may be expensive, but through innovation, your basic equipment could be just what you need to ensure greater savings.
As you get going on your new growing venture, there's an important risk to public health that you must know about. It's called antimicrobial resistance. Watch this next feature and take action. Traditional farmers, this especially applies to you.
In 2015, the World Health Organization declared antibiotic resistance a global threat, resulting in the development of a global action plan. By 2016, all member countries were mandated by the United Nations General Assembly to develop an action plan using the global document as a template.
Antimicrobials are used around the world to control and treat infections in animals and humans, but their overuse and misuse puts their efficacy at risk. The ultimate objective is to reduce the need for antimicrobials by preventing disease. In this regard, animal diseases and infections should primarily be prevented by ensuring biosecurity, following good production and good management practices, and implementing integrated disease control programs to minimize the occurrence of diseases.
Antimicrobial drugs are also used to treat diseases in animals and plants, as well as in farming to boost production. The result is that they can end up in the environment, in water and waste from health facilities and farms, and sometimes even in our food.
Both our health and agriculture ministries, therefore, have joined forces with the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, to develop a national action plan underscoring the need for a broad-based, multi-sectoral approach and response to this rising issue.
Not long ago, I sat in the lab looking at a culture plate of a urine sample taken from a 40-odd-year-old lady. And I literally felt chills down my spine as I saw that an organism was growing on it that was resistant to 21 of the 22 antibiotics tested against it. And the one antibiotic it was sensitive to would not have worked in real life. This is a scary prospect. And I'm sure persons will wonder, well, what do you do? What do you do with such a patient? So this reinforces the fact that the problem is not coming, it is already here.
Bacteria we can't stop fight. Antibiotics, take them right. Antibiotics, antibiotics. Come let me tell you how to take them right. Only take them from professionals with medical credentials. Do not share them with friends or relations. Use prescriptions, follow instructions. Take them till them done with no interruptions. Bad bacteria we can't stop fight. Antibiotics, take them right.
What do you do with your leftover antibiotics? Which I'm sure some of you have, because many persons rarely ever complete the course. Do you return it to the pharmacy, as a good citizen should? Or do you flush it down the toilet? If you do the latter, where does that water go? And how can the antibiotic influence the soil it eventually ends up in and the callaloo field it nourishes? Does that have implications for us?
MR is fueled by factors including the less than optimal prescribing of antibiotics by some physicians and inadequate adherence to recommended behaviors by patients, including completion of prescribed antibiotic courses. According to the National Survey of the Knowledge, Attitudes, and Prescribing Practices of Doctors regarding resistance in a Caribbean country, 80% of Jamaicans reported sharing antibiotics. 50% thought the same antibiotic worked for all infections. Only 14% admitted to asking doctors for antibiotics, with doctors giving them antibiotics in 90% of cases. Only 50% thought the course of antibiotics should be finished. In other words, from start to finish. You know, we have this tendency that we start taking it, we feel a little better, and we feel like we don't need to take it again. It's a very important thing, very, very serious, and it's something that we really need to do more to address.
Responsible and prudent use of antimicrobial agents include implementing practical measures and recommendations intended to improve animal health and animal welfare while preventing or reducing the selection, emergence, and spread of antimicrobial resistant bacteria in animals and humans.
In an ironic twist, the antibiotics that kill the bacteria that would kill the patient have now created bacteria that can no longer be killed by these antibiotics and will therefore kill the patient. Antibiotic resistance is real. This here is a call for action.
Motorists, when driving on the road, here are some simple reminders. Look out for and extend courtesy to all road users. Give plenty of room to pedestrians, especially in wet weather. Drive slowly. No bother wet them up. Slow down when approaching a pedestrian crossing or school, and always be prepared to stop. Remember, a school zone is a 30-kilometer zone. Cut your speed. Drivers of large and slow-moving vehicles should always keep in the far left hand of a dual carriageway. Keep it simple. Drive left and pass right. These are just simple reminders of your road duties. Drive safely.
Thanks for watching another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Join us again tomorrow when we'll do this all over again. Send your feedback on today's show to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Also, follow us on our social media pages and download our app on your Apple and Android devices. And you can also visit our website at jis.gov.jm for more information. Don't forget too that this and other programs can be found on our YouTube channel. So on behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
I started out selling out of the trunk of my car.
If everybody think the same way, everybody going in the same line.
Being an entrepreneur takes everything that you've got.
Weekends? What's weekends? We work on a weekend.
There are real opportunities everywhere you look.
But you have to have the passion.
If I do my part well, then everything is okay.
We believed in ourselves and our families believed in us.
Being convinced of this great opportunity, why we are all here doing what we're doing now.
Watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access TV. Serious about business.
Business Access TV comes to you from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar under the theme Achieving Growth, Sustaining Viability. I am Tamara McHale with part 2 of the highlights, starting with a presentation on global turmoil and its implications to Jamaica.
So I'm sure we've all seen in the news what's been going on, the fears of the trade war, global crisis, the world is coming to an end, Trump basically controlling everything. Those fears have been widespread and right across the globe. The constant trade war between the US and China. Even the Chinese, their headlines, you all see it, are also very concerned about this. Brexit, another huge issue that has been in the news, another huge issue that is affecting global trade and affecting the economies of the world. Trump looking closer at the trade war between US and China. You know, Trump has accused China of unfair trading practices and intellectual property theft. The Chinese believe that the US want to undermine their country's rise, and this has basically led to an economic fallout which has vexed the global markets. Over the past year, the US has imposed over $360 billion worth of tariffs on the Chinese government. The Chinese has retaliated with $110 billion worth of tariffs on US products. Washington has delivered 3 rounds of tariffs this year, and the 4th one was in September of this year. The last round was on meat and musical instruments, and they put a 15% duty on Chinese meat and musical instruments coming into the US. Beijing has hit back with 5% to 25% tariffs on US goods. The last tariff was a 5% levy on US crude oil, the first time fuel has ever been hit in this trade battle, which is a huge, huge thing. And we're feeling it in the oil prices. The oil prices have come off considerably since this tariff has been in. Both sides are basically threatening to take action against one another. Washington has further threatened another set of tariffs for December of this year. China has also planned to hit back with tariffs on 3,000 more products for the US by the end of this year. If nothing is interrupted, this process will reverse 40 years of increased trade and financial and economic integration between China and the US. Other nation companies won't follow the Americans and lead, and they are benefiting from this. So if you look at this, China has felt the pinch with 35 billion of export losses to the US since the beginning of this year, and other countries are benefiting. So Taiwan has been the biggest beneficiary of this. 4.2 billion in the first half of 2019. Trade between the US and Taiwan has grown. Mexico has grown by an additional 3.5 billion of trade between Mexico and the US. EU, Vietnam, other big benefiters of what's happening in the trade war between the US and China. Korea, Canada have also benefited, ranging between $0.9 and $1.5 billion of trade. The US companies have also benefited. They have picked up the slack, and they have also, rather than exporting jobs to China and importing goods from China, they have kept 14 billion worth of exports and goods produced in the US by producing it in the US rather than in China. So we're seeing that net there, what Trump is doing is benefiting the US, is hurting China, and the rest of the world is benefiting. This is where Jamaica, the opportunity for Jamaica here comes in. The problem is that we've killed our manufacturing sector, and we can't pick up the slack like a Taiwan or a Mexico or the EU right off the bat. But there's a huge opportunity here for us to get in the middle of this China-US trade war and benefit. These are the huge headwinds that are ahead of us in terms of trade and how this will affect us in the region as well as the rest of the world. These issues are not new. They have been around for 2 years. So why all of a sudden are people saying that we're near recession? Well, on March 22nd of this year, the US Treasury curve inverted. What does that mean? That means that long-term rates in the US fell below the short-term rates in the US. It meant that persons were beginning to worry. It meant that those persons that were in stocks and other long-term assets began to sell those assets and went to the safety of treasuries. Once you move to treasuries, the yields fall, the yield curve inverts. What does that mean for recession? Well, since 1975, every recession in the US has been preceded by an inversion of the yield curve. So since 1975, and you'll see it from the chart, so the global financial crisis was preceded by the yield curve inverting. The dot-com bust in early 2000, again, the same with the oil price shock in the 90s, was all preceded by an inversion of the yield curve. And this happened on March 22nd of this year. Typically, the recession usually follows an inversion by 6 to 2 years. So it's not an immediate thing. So this is what has been causing a lot of panic. 6 months to 2 years. Right. So this is what happened in the US and has been causing a lot of panic. Whether it's self-fulfilling or not, it is a cause for concern given our reliance on the US and our reliance globally on trade. So again, coming out of the inversion of the yield curve and coming out of the trade wars, IMF reduced its target for GDP growth from 3.5% to 3.3% for this year on a global basis. You'll see in 2009 where we had the recession. This is a big thing because this is the lowest level of growth that's predicted by the IMF since the 2009 crash. Again, this shows the global distribution of GDP across the globe. The US and China contribute 40% of GDP to the globe. If US and China continue this trade war and production starts to fall in these two territories, you're looking at our global issues throughout the globe. If you add in the rest of Asia and you add in what's happening in Europe and the EU into that, you're looking at a 75% drop, a 75% GDP contribution. Those countries fall in their production in the coming months. So how does that affect us here in Jamaica? Well, we need to look back at what happened at 2008 and when we had the big financial crisis of 2008 and the last time that Jamaica was in recession. You'll see that was a major financial crisis. So the global markets had financial headwinds. There was cheap credit and loose lending terms internationally. Subprime mortgages was the thing of the day. There had a huge credit crunch. The US economy slowed. That spread right across the globe, and world economy prices were plummeting. So the Fed, in response to that, they dropped rates, had the longest period of expansionary policies throughout the US with interest rates at the lowest they've been for the longest period in US history. Stock market had its worst performance during that period and has recovered considerably since. For Jamaica, back then, we were in a much worse position. So we had an exchange rate that was galloping. I mean, somebody might argue that it's galloping today. I hear we're selling at 143.20 today. Yeah, it's crazy. Sorry. But we had a spiraling fiscal deficit, we had unsustained debt levels, rising interest rates, bond prices were under pressure, with negative economic growth, and our rating was under huge pressure. Since then, Jamaica has really turned around following 2 successful public debt exchanges, JDX and NDX. Our interest costs are rock bottom now. Our maturity profile on government debt has been extended. We've had 2 successful IMF programs. Government of Jamaica is very proactive in their liability management, improved economic stability, 18 consecutive quarters of growth, albeit very low, and an upgrade in the country's credit rating. Our financial entities are much better regulated, consumer spending is much more moderate, real estate prices have been stable, and financial entities are much better capitalized.
Stay with us, we hear more from Mr. Johan Heaven when we return.
Doggin Global Business Process Outsourcing. Doggin Global can help you with your day-to-day administrative and secretarial needs. We provide solutions for streamlining your accounting and bookkeeping procedures, so you can get on with running your business while knowing that all the accounting and statutory needs are being taken care of. Our BPO services include the following: bookkeeping, preparation of budgets, management accounts, and periodic financial analyses, provision of temporary or part-time accounting assistance, design and implementation of accounting systems, preparation of accounting manuals, payroll services, corporate secretarial services, assisting clients with their business entry strategy into the country, setting up new legal entities, maintaining minutes and other legal documents, non-executive directorships, preparing and submitting annual returns. For additional information, contact us at email info@doggin.global, website www.doggin.global.
So what will a slowdown in the world economy look like for Jamaica? We're going to take it on a industry by industry basis. So in terms of tourism, tourism is now 9% of our GDP, still a considerable portion of our GDP. Global slowdown obviously will affect our tourist arrivals and affect our GDP growth. It's critical that we need to diversify our tourism product. We need to tap into other markets. We need to not depend only on the US market. And I see, the minister is doing that. Tourist board is doing that. We're doing a good job, but we still need to tap into other markets. We need to be in China, which is the largest economy in the world. We need to have Chinese come in here. Chinese don't like sand and sea. They like the cultural experience. They're here. Yeah, we need more though. We need, yeah. Remittances, again, a huge contributor to GDP, 16.5% remittances. If there's a slowdown in the US, we're going to see lower levels of remittances coming into Jamaica. Bauxite, we know, is already under pressure. Alpart and Gisco plant have closed. Again, if commodity prices fall, we will see a further fall off in bauxite. Foreign direct investment as well, we've been doing very well. Again, we will see lower levels of FDI and lower levels of foreign exchange coming into the country. This will put further pressure on the foreign exchange rate. Our NIR, however, has been very stable and at the highest level it has been forever. The governor does not like to use the NIR to stabilize the dollar though, but if there is significant pressure on the dollar, he will have to use the NIR to stabilize the dollar and to bring the US into the market. Unemployment at its lowest level, near 6%. BPO sector growing, manufacturing sector growing, but if tourism and other sectors come under pressure, we could see unemployment coming under pressure. And then this is really the most concerning thing for me. It is our local asset prices, and because interest rates are at all-time lows, many of the fund managers have been finding it difficult to find assets to invest in. So you see a lot of the money moving towards real estate, money moving towards the stock market, money moving to other fixed income instruments, and I believe that a lot of those assets are overpriced right now, given the relatively low level of interest rates. Yesterday, the BOJ CD came in at 0.99%, below 1%, below where the US Treasury raises funds at. So our local government is raising money cheaper than the US government. That's because our local institutions don't have anything to do with the funds, and so they're they're running after assets that are coming out. Again, the stock market, which has been very well, 2 years we've been the best performing stock market. We have to be very careful with the asset prices and how far they're going, because right now, the levels that they're trading at, in the high 20s, when you look at the price to earnings ratio, my opinion, it's high, and we have to be very careful with where we are right now. Real estate is the new thing. A lot of developments going on, which is great, but we have to be careful of the real estate prices and where they're going. We don't want to end up in a case where we have a stock market bubble or a real estate bubble, and then when the bubble bursts, we all know what happens.
Coming after Johan, the topic is very timely, disasters. And I'm happy to be sharing the panel with Bruce, because the truth is that, thank you, the truth is that business continuity, not just for business, but for government, is key. And that business continuity speaks to recovery planning, which is absolutely important as we try to grapple with these issues. We are reminded often, right here in Jamaica, throughout the Caribbean, close to us, the greatest difficulty is getting back up and running. And the way to minimize that challenge is to begin that planning long before an event occurs. We've been trying very much with the government of Jamaica. Regrettably, we have not made the kind of progress we would have liked, because we saw what happened after Hurricane Ivan, and we see it each time. You shoot from the hip, you set up an organization, try to get it going. So business continuity applies just to business, but very importantly to the national construct. We're living with a new normal. Every day we hear about disasters all around the world. There are climate-triggered disasters, there are geophysical disasters, and there are human-induced disasters. Multi-hazard disasters coming out of one of the UN global frameworks, what we call the Sendai framework, they're tracking these disasters. And over the last 10 years, well, maybe 1997 to 2017, floods accounted for the greatest impact, and the disasters stemming from natural hazards caused the greatest disruption in terms of displacement of people and so on. So we're talking about a lot of people. What do we have in the Caribbean? We have a situation where, just coming very close, 2 years ago, we had 2 Category 5 hurricanes coming within 2 weeks of each other, devastating our sister territories, many of which are still crawling to try to get back up and running. We had Dorian, which stalled over the Bahamas for several days. We have just never seen that. So not only was it intense, but it sat there. And the implications are very much there. So we ask ourselves, are these processes natural? And we have global systems that underlie natural processes. This is the reality. And very often, however, the response is influenced by the human factor. Natural systems, of course, include where we are. So we are imbued, we're located in the tropical Caribbean. That tells us some things. Plate tectonics, in terms of our geology, our geophysical construct, that makes us prone to earthquakes, the movement of these plates. We have atmospheric oceanic circulation, and then global warming and climate change, which is the central consideration. If you think Brexit is bad, and you think US-China trade war is bad, climate change is underpinning everything. So the impact of the climate, this climate reality, is very far-reaching. We don't have time to go into all of it. However, we heard about our tourism, our dependence, agriculture, manufacturing, housing, settlements, health, everything with which we are concerned in terms of how we make a living, how we generate our businesses, and there is no one in this room who is immune from the impact. And therefore, what we have to focus on, which is what is being pushed globally, is climate action. How do we build resilience? So, the second thing that we have to focus on is disaster risk reduction, which means that we have to understand the science of the hazard. We have to assess our exposure. Nobody's going to be expected to understand how the hazards are generated, but somebody has to do it. So everything has to be underpinned by the science. How exposed are we? And then what are our vulnerabilities? How is it likely to impact? Are the vulnerabilities internal to our companies, to our communities, to our homes, or are they external? For example, we had a very serious case of flooding. Some of you might remember it. It's a few years ago. Major rainfall event, wasn't a hurricane or anything, the Marcus Garvey flooding that wiped out coffee board, wiped out a lot of that coffee. That was a vulnerability that living next to the gully, which was not properly cleared, and also because we had construction that blocked some of the natural drainage. Those are external vulnerabilities that affect and have a major impact. And regrettably, again, we don't often measure the full cost of this impact, which is where our accounting profession and financial professionals come in. We need to manage, as we said before, during and after the event, because we have to prepare ourselves not only to see what's coming down the pike, but very importantly, to be able to get back up and running. Disasters are therefore considered failed development. And when we're dealing with natural disasters, as the term is used, disasters that are caused by natural events, it usually is a reflection of what we have failed to do in terms of our infrastructure, what we have failed to do in terms of our planning, and what we have failed to do in terms of ensuring that we minimize loss.
Don't go anywhere. More from the ICAJ Business Seminar when we return.
Great design is not only how things look, but also how well they work. The GLC, more than meets the eye.
So we do not have generally integrated planning. We have informal, unstructured development, sometimes implicitly encouraged. And then we have structured developments. I think many of us are investors. We go for short-term financial interest, financial gain, without looking at the long term. However, we cannot really continue to do that because we pay a price. And sometimes the price may not be in our lifetime. You know, we take the case of Caribbean Terrace, which is one that is used all the time. 1994, Ivan wiped away that. Those houses should never have been built there, okay? But they were built. Persons who purchased them didn't have a clue, and you pay that price. We talked about the interconnectivity in terms of globalization and so on, and the fact that there is a cascading effect. So we moved out to this planet, this environment, since that's the third element. Very often we view this environment in terms of just getting a permit for development. So we have to do environmental assessments. We have adversarial positioning. There's always quarreling. However, it's a multifaceted and complex topic, but importantly, it's a development issue, it's a business issue, and it is closely intertwined with economics, with finance, with strategy and people. It's not solely an issue of protecting natural resources. It's not just about trees, hugging trees at all. It goes way beyond that. So we know we have natural systems. Very importantly, we have built systems. And we tend to spend less time, less focus on how those built systems are integrated with the natural. It's the environment, the planet, it's our life support system. You can't live without clean air, you can't live without water. And their resources, they are our economic assets, that's what we build on. And again, one of the things we pay less attention to, and increasingly we have to, is health. That chikungunya outbreak, the dengue, the mosquito breeding, all of that related to warming temperatures, climate change, and it is going to get worse.
My focus will be on the man-made disasters affecting businesses that are unique to businesses. So I've subtitled my presentation, Preparing and Recovering from Unique Disaster Situations. And when I use the word disaster in this context, I mean just about anything that could bring your business to a grinding halt. I had a session with one of my clients, I think earlier this week, pray for me, and one of the things, the thing that we were trying to do, we were trying to identify those events that, and we use this word, that could cripple the organization. Historically, when we think of a disrupting event to a business, our minds tend to think about the fire in the computer room or some physical thing that's disrupting our operations. And obviously, that is part of the discussion. And by the way, many businesses still struggle to recover from those unique physical disruptions. And our moderator spoke to that earlier. So when I was thinking about the presentation, I thought to myself that I'd try and give a broader methodology around how to identify these unique disrupting events with a view of making sure that if they happen, you can still continue your business. I've pretty much spoken about this in my opening remarks. Yes, natural disasters, they're everywhere, they affect our region. And this is just to repeat my opening comments. We will have less empathy. Your stakeholders will be less understanding if you are an event that is unique to you while all your stakeholders are up and running. Ironically though, if there was, say, a hurricane, and because of poor disaster preparation, you took longer to restore your business than the competitors, then you're going to find yourself in a unique situation. And so this speaks to the importance of disaster preparation. I'm not really focusing on that. So let's look at some common, unique disasters affecting some of the key business processes that we have. So the real value to me of this presentation, and what I want you to take away, is how to find these non-traditional type things. You know, I cannot keep repeating that we tend to think of the fire and the electrical failure and stuff like that. Technology failures. British Airways had an embarrassing situation. Didn't actually cripple them from an operational perspective, but it created significant adverse impact on their reputation. They had a power surge that brought down their check-in system and their baggage claim system. The average passenger wasn't able to get a flight until 3 days later. $122 million in hard costs, and the reputational damage was immense. Didn't cripple them in that sense, but certainly went beyond the realm of their risk appetite, I'm sure. Cyber attacks, we don't need to talk about that one too much. Equifax had an issue that's well documented. And here's another one of those unique things that I'm talking about that we would do well. I'm going to end the presentation by showing you a quick methodology as to how to find these non-traditional type things. Segregation of duties. Would you have thought that not properly segregating duties in your company could literally cause the company to die? You've thought about it, right? So Barings Bank, one of the reasons why Barings Bank, Nick Leeson, this is well documented. He was a trader, and he had access apparently to trading and settling and doing stuff that was incompatible for one person to do. And so the obvious question is, what are the segregation of duties issues, believe it or not, that could be fatal to your organization? Key third parties. The world is so interconnected today that we are heavily dependent on major third parties to deliver significant aspects of our businesses. So much so that there's a separate standard to dealing with giving assurance for how third parties are managing your business. Does the third parties that you work with, do you know if they have a business continuity plan? Could they export a disaster to your business? And the list could go on. Compliance issues. If you're regulated and you don't have certain types of persons on staff who have the required approvals or certifications from the regulator, they could shut you down. The first thing is basically to do risk assessment. And really what that is to try and identify what these things are. In PwC, we have a standard list of known threats with some leading questions. And it might seem kind of banal, but let me give you a quick example of what I'm talking about here. So this is a very simple questionnaire surrounding electrical power risk, right? So I'm talking about doing a risk assessment. So you have electrical, water, fire. Who is your neighbor? The business next door to you. We had a client where there was a big cylinder that was right next door to the boardroom because their neighbor was a restaurant that emerged overnight. Think of your impact financially. How much would you lose? Operationally, would they shut us down? Or reputation, would it be at stake? Could this cause an environmental issue? So what are the risks? There are some standard risks that have to do with your buildings. But the real value comes when you have, say, all your executives in a room and you look at all your key objectives and you ask each other or challenge each other to answer the question, if we were not able to get all of our tellers certified or investment managers certified, what would be the impact? So you basically do an impact likelihood assessment of all your risks that you have identified. And at the end of it, you should come up with something like this, which is known as a heat map. So having done the identification of the risks, you ask yourself on a scale of, say, 1 to 4, if this risk were to happen, what would be the impact? And then, what would be the likelihood of this risk happening to us? So in this case, if we had an air quality issue, the impact on a scale of 1 to 4 is 4. This is only for illustrative purposes. And in this entity, they say it is very likely that we would have it. And so this risk ends up in the top right-hand corner. If you want to have your viable businesses and to achieve growth, which is the broader theme of this conference, every company represented in this room, you should ensure that you have a heat map like this, and any risk that's in the top right-hand corner, you need to take some action. So if you realize that you don't have a backup site to your primary computer room, and you ask your IT persons and they tell you it's $1 million to put it in, and those are expensive treatments, it's better to spend the $1 million and save the business and your reputation, all right?
When we return, we hear from Anna K. Jones's presentation on human disaster versus natural disaster, a youth's perspective.
I am Jackie Tyson, and you're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
I was asked to give the youth perspective, as moderator said. So what qualifies me to do such? First of all, I am a youth. Yes. And I am passionate about the environment. As she said, that is why I decided to pursue a minor in energy and environmental physics. We want to be able to develop technologies that will help sustain our future. So this is the first question. that some people still have an issue with. Is climate change real? And I would answer with a very deflated, yes, yes it is. It's very exhausting to think that this is something that we still have to be wondering about and explaining to people that people don't understand. Because climate change happens without us. You know, the Earth has been through ice ages and so forth. It happens without us. Slightly more intelligent question would be, does human activity impact climate change? And the answer is again, yes it does. One of the first companies to do a comprehensive climate study was actually an oil company. And this was in like the 80s. And they found amongst themselves that yes, what we're doing is impacting the climate. And they didn't do anything about it. They didn't tell anyone. And now we have super hurricanes. So that's fun. So silly questions out of the way. Is it really that serious? Well, you tell me. Of course, we have hurricanes and droughts and wildfires. Those are things that happen with our environment. And then when we have those hurricanes and droughts and wildfires and other disasters, we have the loss of life, we have the displacement, we have the destruction of land, infrastructure, or food supply goes down, so we come down here. And then, of course, we have the human side of it, the burning of the Amazon rainforest that happened this year. Those were man-made and intentional for cattle breeding purposes. Constant fossil fuel burning, soil erosion due to improper farming practices. And then come here again, and you see a lot of the times these things, these human impacts, are sort of excused because of these issues that we're having. But then we come back here and we say that, well, wait, these things that we're doing impact up here. They increase the intensity of these natural disasters. Imagine during Hurricane Dorian or after Hurricane Dorian, a lot of persons were not able to enter the US. I can't say for sure why that is, but we see a lot of issues like that. Amazon rainforest persons were also using it as an excuse to damage indigenous people living in the forest. Native Americans in the US often have to deal with oil pipelines being run through their reservations, and then oil spills that spill into their water supply. And classism, it's very punishing to be poor, because you're just trying to live paycheck to paycheck, and somebody's there saying, just buy one less latte a day. You are being blamed. The lower class is often blamed for impacting the environment with their practices. So, for example, who has ever had somebody say, you know, just don't eat meat? It's because you're eating meat why the cattle farming and the methane from the cows and all those things, and it suddenly becomes your fault when you're just trying to live your life. And this is something else. So this is one that I've thought of very recently. For a lot of us, the plastic straw ban was very inconvenient, but mildly so. You know, you have to drink, you drink faster, or you don't use a straw, or maybe you get a trendy metal straw. We don't think about persons, for example, with neurological challenges who cannot manipulate those metal straws and plastic straws, the paper straws and bamboo straws. The plastic straws were very convenient for them. A new one that I saw, who in here has asthma? I don't mean to expose anybody's business, but if anybody in here has asthma, they're looking at you now, because they're saying that your asthma pumps are releasing methane, and so that is impacting the climate. And you're just trying to breathe. Why are they coming for you? You're just trying to breathe. And so all these things come together, and it is that serious. You have these discrimination against these marginalized people who are just trying to exist. So what is really going on here? This is a strong word. I don't hope nobody feels offended by it, since a business conference, but really and truly, you have corporations, especially particularly these massive corporations that really don't care about who they hurt, who they impact, what oil spills where. Their only concern is that the oil is spilled and they cannot sell it. So then the government, a lot of global governments allow for these type of these pollutions to be occurring because they're getting, you know, a little money on the side. So they turn a blind eye and they don't say anything. And also, you have a lot of these corporations and the government putting the bulk of the responsibility on the citizens. When really and truly, they're not the majority. You're fixing a symptom of a problem and you're not going to the root, and you're just ignoring the root completely. Citizens, global citizens, residential pollution only accounts for about 12%, where everything else is, you know, company-based, corporation-based. We are inheriting a planet that will not be able to sustain. I wanted to highlight some of the key youth players here. If anybody follows American politics, this is Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's daughter. She is very strong in the climate protests in the US. I wanted to highlight John Paul Hussein, particularly from India, because this week India had to announce a public health emergency because their air quality pollution was literally, and I do mean literally, off the charts. Their meters capped out, could not record any higher. It was 20 times what is considered a safe amount of pollution. 20 times that. So yeah. And Greta Thunberg is very famous. She's kind of the face of this whole Fridays for Future protest. She's pretty much one of the founders for it. She has Asperger's, which is a disorder on the autism spectrum. She's a brilliant young woman, and she practices what she preaches. Trust me, reusable packages, she takes the boats instead of the planes, takes trains instead of cars. She practices what she preaches. She means it. So what can be done? What do we expect as youth from you? We're looking for our governments to step up. We want to change the mindset. We don't want the apathy. We want people to see that this is a serious problem. It's not just 30 years down the line or 40 years down the line when, you know, some of the older folks will be dead. And we're just gonna have to deal with it. We're just gonna have to deal with it. It's gonna be too late by then. People need to understand that now. And then we need to shift the focus from the everyday citizen. Of course, I don't want anybody to say that I'm saying that the citizens are not at fault at all. I'm hoping nobody in here is a litterer. You know, nobody's throwing the garbage out the car into the gully or anywhere else. But really and truly, we are not the main source. We're persons living our daily lives while big companies are getting away with murder. Literally, almost. Then we need to continue making our laws. It is hard, change is hard. However, it is necessary. We have to protect our natural resources, and we want to be able to move towards renewable energy. We want to be able to make that shift so that is one less thing to be worrying about. And then, of course, it doesn't make sense to have the laws if you don't enforce them. We want to have our government enforce the laws for the small citizens as well as for the big companies. We have to, and then of course, we have to do our disaster planning because we cannot afford to let a hurricane, Category 5 hurricane, even brush us in Jamaica. The Bahamas, you know the Bahamas had internet throughout all of that. If we even got the tailwind, our internet would have been knocked out. JPS would have shut down.
Hey guys, I'm Candy, and welcome to Chill Spot, Jamaica's ultimate leisure show. This season promises to reveal some of the hidden treasures of the lifestyle industry by taking you to the chill spots of some of Jamaica's most brilliant business minds, giving you a glimpse into how they choose to unwind and just pull a vibe. You won't want to miss what happens next. Stay tuned.
Thanks for staying with us for part 2 of Business Access TV's coverage of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar. We now turn over to the presentations of the challenges with meeting accounting standards and regulatory requirements.
All right, so I've been asked to speak about financial reporting challenges that are associated with entities being on exchanges, particularly Jamaica Stock Exchange. So the JSC has been getting a lot of attention in recent times based on the organization, the performance of our stock market, and also the fact that from a financial reporting perspective, I think the listed entities have kept a clean sheet. And we have been able to avoid many of the financial reporting scandals that we see emerging globally. But being on an exchange takes you into what I call the public accountability space. And you are inviting others to invest in your entity, others who are dependent on the performance of your entity to maintain and create value. So oftentimes when you have these IPOs, and an IPO can be either debt or equity, you find that you have individuals who are investing, persons who have foregone lattes to buy stocks. Sorry, Johan. Johan and I are very good friends, by the way. You have pension funds who are investing in these IPOs. And I audit some pension funds, and I find pension funds have heavy stakes in a lot of these IPOs. And each of us knows the importance of pension funds to long-term savings and just to the general run of the economy. So you're in public accountability space. Your responsibility, your stakeholder group has expanded tremendously. You have debt holders, equity holders, you have regulators who are meant to ensure that you operate in a manner that's consistent with best practice. You have the analysts who are tearing apart your performance and your results. And you also now have the attention of the global markets. People are watching the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So there is a picture of the Jamaica flag hanging outside I think it's the New York Stock Exchange, and it has gotten great publicity. There is an interview of Marlene Street Forest in American media. So we are on the map. Once you get into that public accountability space, however, there are certain obligations that attend to you. And the main ones really are ensuring that you have a talent pool that allows you to understand, interpret, and apply all the financial reporting standards. These standards are extremely complex as the International Accounting Standards Board tries to fine-tune the accounting standards. You find that these standards are changing as the IASB and the FASB, which does the US GAAP promulgation, as they try to harmonize. You find that you have changes that are coming consistently, and these changes are complex. So in terms of your talent pool, you have to ensure that you have individuals who have the time, the agility, the intellectual capital, the access to technology that allows them to interact with these standards. And oftentimes what you find is that these are the same individuals who are doing the day-to-day transaction processing and financial reporting. So one of the challenges that entities will face, and a big one now, is with the insurance accounting standard, is trying to come to terms with the new standards while continuing to meet existing shareholder and stakeholder financial reporting requirements. And that's a huge challenge. But we have to appreciate that we are a proud nation. We like to see ourselves on the international stage. We like to compare ourselves to the larger, more profitable, more developed nations. And if we are to do that, then our financial reporting has to be consistent with theirs. We have to be able to compare our results with their results in a manner that allows for real analyses, comparison, and differentiation. And we have many entities in Jamaica as well that have huge ambitions, and there are entities that have publicly explored the option of listing on exchanges globally. And if we are to do that, then we have to have the appropriate financial reporting mechanisms.
My presentation here today is really not to go into the rules or anything like that. I don't want to bore you, but I want to speak from a practical standpoint, because I do get the calls from listed companies in terms of, saying that every day there is a new rule being developed. The stock exchange is moving like they're a New York Stock Exchange, right? We can't manage this. So I'm here to speak to you in terms of the challenges that listed companies have shared with the stock exchange in terms of, what their experience has been, right? And we do listen to these concerns and look at ways to address them if we can, right? So before going into the challenges, I want to just give you a breakdown of the regulatory environment for listed companies. And I should have asked, you guys know what ongoing requirements is speaking to, right? All right, let me just explain quickly. So as Garfield stated here, you have the first stage where the companies come to market, and they come to market usually through a prospectus offering. Now that's what you call your initial listing requirements, or satisfying initial listing requirements. When you're now on the stock exchange, you would be required to maintain that listing that you got to comply with the rules and standards of the market. So that is what we call ongoing requirements, right? And that is where you find that most of the challenges exist. So the regulatory environment, of course, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, as a listed company, you have to report to the stock exchange. But how many persons know that as an issuer, you also have to report to the Financial Services Commission? They are the ultimate regulator of the securities market, right? So essentially, everything that you send to the stock exchange, or everything that a listed company send to the stock exchange, they are required to also send such information to the Financial Services Commission, given the provisions in the Securities Act. Of course, listed companies are required to report to shareholders, because you need the information to know what is going on in the company. You need to know, should I continue to hold this stock? Should I sell? Or should I buy stocks in another company, right? And the only way you can get that is through the communication channels that the listed company uses to communicate to you as shareholders and prospective investors. And of course, we can't leave these persons out. You have the market observers, financial analysts, and I stated prospective investors, because, sometimes they're even, they are not so reserved with their comments, So where you file a financial statement and it's deficient, an analyst would pick it up and say, what is this? How can the board of this company release such information? How can the stock exchange allow this to go through? So, it is necessary, and that's how a market should really function.
We take our final break from the ICAJ Business Seminar, but we may have saved the best for last. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Kerry Richards, the Entrepreneurship Development Manager at the Branson Center.
You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
There are a lot of local companies who are really doing exceptionally well at the whole CSR initiatives and are doing good for Jamaica and elsewhere. And so, of course, with Cinco, everybody knows about their recycling program, which is growing and has, because of their initiative in schools, it means that they're encouraging young people to be environmentally conscious and aware. And they've also gotten big corporates involved as well. You almost are forced to embrace these kinds of initiatives because when they are making a choice in their spending dollar, they look at sustainable living brands, they look at companies that are purpose-driven, they look at companies that are giving back. So that's another good example of a local company who is really working the CSR program well. I would have to mention some of the work that the Grace Kennedy foundations are doing. So we have two foundations. We have the Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation, which started in the 1970s, and it's a very unique foundation because that foundation it was a staff initiative and continues to be. And it started in the 1970s coming out of employees noticing a great deal of turmoil in the communities surrounding our headquarters at 73 Harbor Street. And so they decided that they wanted to do something. They wanted to create positive initiatives that would assist these communities, and particularly young people. And so they went to the CEO at the time and said, we have an idea, we want to donate. And CEO Carlton Alexander said, sure, the company will, whatever you donate, the company will match it ×2. And that has continued. And so the foundation actually celebrated 40 years this year. And continues to do some really incredible work. So we have 6 homework centers. And what we realized, particularly starting in downtown, and now it has spread, we have in Majesty Gardens, we also have in De La Vega City, in Spanish Town, and we try to also place it close to where we operate. So we also have a homework center in Sav, where we make the hams, and we have one in Barbican near the Hilo. And what we've done there is given young people a space, a safe space to do their homework, to get tutoring, to get mentoring. We also provide psychological counseling. And right now, just over 600 students across the country benefit from those homework centers. And on Tower Street, we also have a STEM center because we saw that as an important need. And so this is not telling us anything that we haven't said before. At Grace Kennedy, we take a very holistic approach. We care is our mantra, and we apply that to everything. We care about quality. We care about our customers, and that's why we focus on quality. We care about our communities. That's why we engage with them to make the communities better. We, of course, care about our shareholders, right, Alison, because they have to get that return. And we operate with honesty, integrity, and trust in all things, as you can see there. That is right under First Global Bank. But it's not just our regulated entities, it's everybody that operates with that creed. And we can't do it without our staff. So there's a great deal of focus on our staff. And we find that particularly when we're attracting people, the work that we do is very exciting to them because we are working with our communities and we are trying to give back as best we can. And so I will leave you with what I thought was a really great quote to say that it's not really a hard choice anymore. If it's done properly, it really does flow to the triple bottom line. And it does benefit not only your organization, but the wider community. And so people not only want it, they have come to expect it. So CSR is not a choice, it's a responsibility. And everybody expects it of you these days. So thank you all for listening, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching part 2 of the highlights from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica Business Seminar. It was held under the theme Achieving Growth, Sustaining Viability. Until next time, I am Tamara McHale. Keep watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Angeli Martin Spencer, Principal and Interior Decorator of Ash, Angeli Spencer Home, and you're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
It was after the invention of the telephone that Canadian inventor Reginald Fessenden in 1900 set out to find a way to remotely communicate without using wires. In that same year, he recorded the first voiceover, a test reporting the weather. As technology improved, the art of doing voiceovers, or providing voices to represent a character or to provide information to an audience, became more routine in radio and television. Today, it's possible to offer voiceovers and earn from that skill via the internet. This week on Career Moves, we highlight this emerging cyber profession and disclose how easy it is for anyone to learn and take advantage.
Hi, my name is Alicia Little, and I'm the CEO of Internet Income Jamaica. Internet Income Jamaica is a training company where we teach people how to really use the power of the internet to make money online. I was invited in by a man named Paul Bryant, who was doing Jamaica's first ever Internet Marketing Summit. So I came as a speaker, and then Paul invited myself and my sister to come back and to teach. And our teaching got so popular, and it was so needed in Jamaica that we kept coming back. We did our events at UE, we did our events in conjunction with UTech. And then there was such a demand for it that we said, all right, we're moving to Jamaica, we're opening up our office, and we're gonna teach this as often as we can. And so in 2013, we officially registered a company, we moved to Jamaica, opened an office, and we do trainings at least once a month now. The sites that we put you on to work online, one is called Fiverr.com and the other is called Upwork.com. And you take your skills and you put it on the site. So it's really an opportunity where you can take your skill set, put it online, and get customers from a global economy. It's like you're going global now instead of just keeping your skills local. And the skills that you can put online could be skills you currently have. So if you say you're an expert, and you can prove it by delivering quality work, then you can build your business online. So it's hard to find jobs. It's hard to find other opportunities. Sometimes we need a side hustle to make additional money. So it's really beneficial for people to say, you know what, I can take my skills, I can learn new skills, and I can earn money outside of Jamaica without having to migrate. I don't have to go anywhere but open my laptop, go to my desk and open my laptop, right?
Over the years, Internet Income Jamaica has managed to find skills that are easy enough to do and are needed everywhere and offer them as part of their training package. Here are a few of those skills.
Website development will always be in demand. It's growing. Being a virtual assistant, which is basically an administrative assistant but working online, growing exponentially. And also doing voiceover, which I love, right? So reading scripts, doing radio commercials, podcast commercials, whatever it is, and offering that service online. So I always tell people, if you have a voice, you can make money from it. And the great thing about the Jamaican accent, as we all know, it's loved all over the world, right? So people are always looking for someone with a Jamaican accent to do voiceover for them. So, you know, we have quite a few students here in Jamaica and across the world, I will say, that do voiceover as their offer that they put online, and they do extremely well. If you pay attention, and you'll start to pay attention now more that we're talking about it, if you pay attention to voicemail greetings, radio commercials, TV commercials, what you watch on TV, you will see that voiceover, which is basically someone reading a script and using their voice, is all over the place. When you start to pay attention, you'll be like, that's a voiceover, that's a voiceover. You're hearing it all over the place. There has to be someone doing those voiceovers, and why not you? So the business or the career of being a voice actor, right, or being a voiceover specialist is really growing, and it's really in high demand, and it's fairly easy to do.
So are there any prerequisites to apply to get training at Internet Income Jamaica? And what exactly do I need to become a voice actor?
So a lot of people think that, you know, to offer your career online, you have to have certificates or a special degree, but that's not true. If you say you're an expert, in today's world, people don't look so much for certificates and degrees. They're looking for, do you have what I want? Yes, do you have what I want? So as a voice actor, you don't have to get a special certificate from, I don't even know where you would go to get one, right? You just have to prove, you just have to practice and prove, give a portfolio, show that you can do the work. So read a script, record yourself, have a good microphone, understand software that you need to use, you know, and really put it out there. And when people see that, that's all you need as far as do you qualify for the work or not, right? Nobody's gonna be looking really to see if you have any special, did you get a master's degree in voiceover? No, it's about what skills do you have, what talents do you have, how do you present yourself, and is that what I need? That's what the business is gonna say. Is your voice what I need? If you come to us and you say, look, I want to make money with my voice, I want to make an extra $1,000, $2,000 US a month with my voice, I would tell you that you need a computer, an internet connection, a microphone, which you can get later, and that you should come to our class. Because in our class, what we do is we teach you really the skills that you need and the software that you need, and we give you the software in class in order to really master it, because it's not that hard. You're gonna take a script, read it into your computer, edit it, maybe add music, like background music to it, and send it off to the client. But sometimes people can get stuck in, well, how exactly do I do that? So we show you step by step how to do it, because we found that a lot of times as I'm saying to you, look, go on to Fiverr.com, put your portfolio up, put up an offer that says you do voiceover, but sometimes you need to spend time with the experts to really learn how to do it. So we find that when people come and they sit through a class and they get the knowledge that they need, they're off and running, they're good to go. So we always tell people, if you can figure it out yourself, fine. We're telling people all over, try it, go to Fiverr, try it. If you get stuck, or if you just really want the shortcut and know how to do it, then come to our class where our trainers will really dig in with you and teach you how to do it. Prices range between $10,000 and $15,000, depends on if you register early. So our early birds are always about $10,000, $10,500. And when you pay that fee to come to class, you're in class with our trainers, you do all the work in class, and then what happens is after class is over, we have a Facebook group. Everybody's put into this Facebook group where they work with each other for the rest of their lives. So what we make sure happens is that when you come to class, that's just the beginning of your education and training. Our Facebook group, you have continued support. One thing that you'll notice in our Facebook group is that a lot of our students have too much work, so they'll outsource the work to other newer students. So someone will say, I have a voiceover that needs to be done, or I have 10 that need to be done, who can do it? So other than the $10,500 you're going to pay to come to class, we don't charge you anything else. You get free lifetime support. We'll help you. You can call our office, message us on Facebook. That's where we do all of our support. And we don't charge anything extra. When you work online, the money's yours. We don't take any piece of it, nothing. We're an educational center. We're a training center. We want to train you how to make money on the internet. We teach you in a class, we support you. A lot of people always ask that, well, what percentage of our earnings do you get? And we're like, we don't take a percentage of your earnings. That's not what we're about. We're about pushing you to make money on the internet and celebrating your success. We have our classes once a month on average. Usually it depends on my travel schedule because I do teach this all over the world as well. So when our schedule is free, we schedule the events to be here in Jamaica when I'm here. So we do it on average once a month. You really have to go to our website, which is internetincomejamaica.com, or call our office to find out when our next classes are, because it's not like it's the first weekend of every month. It's the weekend when Alicia is not speaking somewhere else or teaching this somewhere else, because myself and all of our trainers, we try to get this message out to the world.
In terms of compensation, Alicia says it all depends on how much time one commits to working through the internet.
We see students make an average of 100 extra US dollars a month, all the way up to thousands of extra dollars a month. Our trainer and one of our students, Curtis, who you'll talk to and hear from as well, I'll let him tell you how much he's made, but he's almost made 3,000 US dollars in half a month. The thing that I love about this, absolutely love, is that you're earning in US dollars. So I'm a big fan of saying, look, earn in a currency that's higher than the currency you're gonna spend it in, right?
Coming up,
I've always been interested in acting in general. My interest in voice acting developed once I went to the Internet Income Boot Camp.
Internal audit. Internal audit service is vital when organizations aim to achieve reliable financial reports and regulatory compliance, navigating risks, streamlining operations, and promoting stakeholder confidence. The benefits of a high-quality internal audit are limitless, especially when you secure yours from a firm with deep industry experience, exposure to hundreds of organizations, dedicated professionals, and proven methodologies. Whether you're looking to establish an internal audit function, attain or maintain compliance with various regulations, mitigate your risk of fraud, or gain an overall assessment of your internal controls, you can count on Dodge & Global for reliable and timely business solutions. We've helped organizations nationwide and across industries to establish internal control structures, create an internal audit function, or improve an existing one, and maintain regulatory compliance. We provide ongoing education as regulations and public perceptions change. We are trusted advisors for management and boards. External auditors can be confident in our work and its results. Let Dodge & Global be a turnkey solution for your organization. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email info@dodgen.global. Website https://dodgen.global.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Meet Curtis Brown, a voice actor whose desperate attempts to make an honest income led him to find the answer in the talent he already possessed.
I am Curtis Brown, more popularly known as Curtis A, voice actor, recording artist, and songwriter.
With a baby on the way and no stable income, Curtis was invited to an internet income workshop, which he said taught him how to become a millionaire in 3 days.
I went to Mavisville Prep, then I migrated and went to Samuel Gompers Vocational High School. I wanted to be a visual artist and architect. However, for some reason, I didn't make it into the visual arts high school, which I wasn't really interested. I didn't even finish high school. I didn't go to college. Actually, while I was finishing high school, I had an unfortunate incident where I was attacked by a gang and I defended myself. In return, 2 people got hurt out of that 15 that attacked me. They turned around and pressed charges against me. I was deported to Jamaica at the age of 19. Now, my friends always look at me and tell me that most people who get deported, they're either selling oranges or mangoes or they turn into crime. Every day I hear it about the crime and the negative impact that deportees have on the country. There was a point where thinking about making $10,000 for the month almost seemed impossible because I'm walking for miles all over, walking out shoes, skinny down to my bones, and I claim that I'm a voice artist and a songwriter. And you know, so everybody in Jamaica is an artist. So everything is ha ha ha. And even at that time, I was a rapper in the beginning. So it's even more ha 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 ha. So everybody laugh after me. Everybody say, yo, the youth, they're idiot. Youth, they're not gonna away. Youth, then just a wasting time. I've always been interested in acting in general. My interest in voice acting developed once I went to the Internet Income Bootcamp and started working on Fiverr. That's when I really developed my voice acting career. A voice actor working from home need to have a voice. Pretty much that's the main thing. You don't have to have such a wonderful voice. The beauty about being a voice actor is every voice is different and everyone has their own unique voice. So every voice has a place. I don't know if you ever watched the movie Happy Feet, I think, the movie with the penguins. My son watches it all the time. You have everybody else singing and you have that one penguin that taps his feet. You can actually tap your feet, or I've gotten jobs to make music with my mouth and compose a whole instrumental. So there's no bad voice. You need a microphone. I have a very inexpensive microphone here. You can even use one of those headsets and one of those little computer mics. And so you pretty much need a voice and something to record your voice. You can use a laptop. Most laptops have microphones in them, so that's all you need to get started. As you progress and as your income grows, you can invest in your business, because anybody who is sensible, once you have a business and it's pulling in a good income, then you're gonna wanna invest, buy better equipment, compete with people who are better and keep moving up. There's 2 sides to the business. There's a traditional voice acting business where you would get up, you would go to auditions, you'd audition probably 100 gigs and you probably get 1 or 2, but it's a lot different for me. I don't have to do any auditions because I'm on a website that directs traffic to me. When the clients come in, they see my profile, they see what I'm capable of doing. I have my work on display. I have a sample on display where I'm already singing a song. So they pretty much, most of the messages that I get, they are, hey, I love your voice, I'd love to work with you, you're amazing. So there's not much for me to do after that. After that, I pretty much just do whatever they request. It's just as simple as that. So if they ask me to sing a line, I just go right along, I sit down, I sing the line. It's that simple. Sometimes I will ask them for a sample, for them to send me an audio of what they would like it to sound like, and then I'd pretty much reenact that. Oh, I think that I found someone to sing my song. Curtis Brown will be there when you need him. A day for me, I wake up at maybe 12 p.m. I'm just kidding. I don't wake up at 12 p.m. I wake up at probably 5:30. I take a jog. I come back from my run. I check my phone, and I would probably have 3 or 4 messages for the morning with requests for gigs, people inquiring about what can I do and the rates for it. I reply to the messages. Whichever messages convert into a sales. Later on that day, probably around 4:30, I will go around my computer for about 1 to 3 hours, and that's when I do recording for anywhere between 1 to 3 hours recording a day. So I pretty much work for like 3 hours a day. I've done infomercials for The Gap. I've been requested by major recording artists, Billboard artists, as a ghostwriter. I've done ghost artists as a ghost rapper, me rapping and someone else pretending to be me. I've met Australian producers from New York. I've worked with TV companies. I've worked with clothing brands. I've met people from all walks of life and pretty much every continent on the work. I've worked for people pretty much from every continent. I've done stuff locally where I did the Juicy Beef campaign. So put a smile on your face and get in the mood. Serious Jamaican food, and one for St. Mary's. I've done work with the National Drug Abuse Council. Over 40,000 for a less than a 30-second commercial. And so that's just one job. And then when it goes over into my personal business online, I can make anywhere from, well, now I average 800 US per month. That's just like my regular income. But it's from 800 US to like this month I'm looking at $3,000 US dollars. So working 3 hours a day. So if anybody thought voice acting is not a viable career, then they need to think again. But that's not really the high point. The highest point of that is, I can't call the exact name, but think the #1 female rapper in the world. I was requested to write a song for her. So that's pretty much the high point of this so far.
Coming up,
you have to keep your work on time. You have to make sure that you're getting excellent reviews. You have to make sure that the word of mouth about your brand and your company is excellent. So you have to always provide high quality work.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
This is Caroline Smith, marketing implementer for Sol Western Caribbean for Shell Lubricants, and you're watching Business Access TV, and they are serious about business.
Providing voiceovers through the internet may seem simple, but as Curtis highlights, you'd be an entrepreneur, and to be successful takes the same level of professionalism as any traditional job.
The misconception about this profession is that it's easy. It sounds easy. It is fairly easy, but nothing in life is truly easy. I would say that because it takes discipline, it takes dedication, it takes patience. Not every month might start off the same. In the beginning, in the initial stages, you might not get going right away. I've had people that ask me to help them to get into the business, and I help them to get into the business, and they never get started. Why? Because they go 2 weeks, they go a week searching for work, and they don't get any work after a week or 2 weeks, and they give up. It takes faith. Yeah, you need faith in this business. You can miss deadlines if you're not disciplined, if you're not serious. Maybe if you have to outsource work, which I do have to do sometimes. Sometimes when I outsource work, the work tends to come back late after the deadline. Say for instance, I have to work with a partner on a project. Some people don't understand time and time management and delivering product on time. So you can run into problems in that situation. So you have to be disciplined to know that I am my own boss and I'm in control here. But you also have to know that there is no set income and that you need to have a sustainable business for months and years to come. And that relies on customer recommendation and customer reviews. So you have to keep your work on time. You have to make sure that you're getting excellent reviews. You have to make sure that the word of mouth about your brand and your company is excellent. So you have to always provide high quality work. That's one thing. When you're working for yourself, some people can say, oh, I could just do this real quick. They're not paying me enough, stuff like that. But it comes down to quality control. You don't have a manager checking the quality of your work. So you have to keep that in mind to make sure that the quality of your work is up to international standards. So if somebody comes to me this month and they get a voice acting gig where I'm doing a cartoon or I'm doing a message for the voicemail and the quality is not there, the work wasn't delivered on time, then the next month they won't be coming back. But not just that, they're going to leave a review. This is the internet. This is a different age of business. People are leaving reviews now. So they're gonna write, this guy's poor, this guy's horrible, this guy handed in my work late, his voice is not good as he said, all this expert that he claims to be, he's not this expert, and that can hurt your business. I actually had one client that gave me a bad review. It wasn't an honest review, and it did affect business for like the following 2 months, because everyone else who came, even though they saw 20 or 30 positive reviews, that one negative review made them think twice, and they use other people. So it took me a while. I had to drop my rates. I had to start over from the beginning, start getting good reviews again until I did damage control and got that bad review out of the view of the reviews.
According to Curtis, his career is growing and should be considered as a very viable career option to job seekers. Here's his advice.
You're vocally in your prime, anywhere between ages 25 to 40, and you can go all the way up to your late 80s if you practice proper vocal hygiene and exercise. You can do it pretty much till you die as long as you have a voice. So that's a long career, and you're not doing rigorously hard labor, so there's not much wear and tear on your body. Once you learn how to take care of your voice, learn how to deal with your voice, your career can last until you die. My whole life, my family has told me, you need a backup plan, you need a backup plan. And I'm like, no, my backup plan is my main plan. and I've always stuck to it. I've never settled. I've never decided that I'm going to have a backup plan. I had one career, and my one career was entertainment, voice acting, recording artist, songwriting. With voice acting, it's a very, very viable career. My father is one who compared that stuff. My mother, traditionally, now when they see my income, now when they see what I'm doing monthly, they have a whole different outlook and respect for it.
We are serious about the business of real estate, so catch Home Sweet Home Sundays at 4:30 p.m. or if you missed it, check our website at batvja.com.
It goes by many names: marijuana, ganja, cannabis, or kush, just to name a few. But whatever you call it, people will immediately know what plant you speak of. The Good Life this week takes you to the Stepping High Ganja Festival in Negril.
You know that Jamaica have a very long history of ganja, long before what people actually popularized today. You know, for example, people argue that ganja came across with Indians and came over as indentured laborers, see? So hence the word of indica and ganja from river Ganges. However, ganja has always been here, so you have to use a different kind of lens. Meaning now, if you review work by like Van Sertima, they came before Columbus. People always coming to the Caribbean long before Columbus, and Jamaica was always a central space. It was a very important navigational space today. And from pirate time, it was also a very important navigational space. That's why we have the first navigational school in Jamaica by the Caribbean Maritime Institute. Now, what's the point I'm making there? The point I'm making is because ganja was such a traded thing across the world. Across the world. However, it became more recognizable and popular when people started to come here as enslaved persons and also as indentured laborers, because both of those persons were actually using the plant. So there's always an integration with herb and agriculture. But over time, as they start to make herb become more criminal, which means that the state started to lock up people more than the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, you know, the whole thing, it kind of shift. You know, so you find out that while we were still planting herb, we know if we have practiced some integrated farming, not because we just know that integrated farming is what you should do. We have the integrated farming for hide the herb. So I would have plant herb and I plant gungo peas or I plant okra on it, because if you look from overhead and the herb and the gungo peas and the okra, it don't look so obvious. No, the ganja farmer is the only man in Jamaica who was practicing those things, you know. By what? Out of necessity. So as Rastafari start to use more herb, you have more fight taking place against the herb. So it is a thing where the history has been whereby the farmer structure is anti-herb, not because they're anti-a-plant, but because they're anti-a-mindset. But because Rastafari use a lot of herb now, and herb stimulate certain parts of your brain, and people know that your body is designed with the way called an endocannabinoid system, you know, from your head to your toe. And the parts of your body that have the most of those receptors is what your liver and your brain, especially when part of the rhino and suffers and the ancient part of your brain and the central part of your brain as well, the part that deal with this feel-good, esoteric kind of vibes and things, you know what I mean? And that is what drives and supports a lot of the way Rastafari people think. Hence the concept of being airy and the concept of being of one love and being with nature and all those things. That is not the Rasta people alone. The same ancient Indian people who use herb, they don't do the same thing. The people who are Essenes, from which them say Yahusha come from, the Jesus story. They are herb people. So them say them anoint him head with oil. Him seventh chakra, him crown chakra, It's herb them use, it's not olive oil them use, it's ganja oil them use. See? All these stories that people hear, ganja oil is a very important part of those processes for health and wellness and healing. So it's like it's just something where Rasta people come up with, like it's like you have what you call a Columbus syndrome, you discover things that already exist. No. The thing is that the Rastafari, we are way into this consciousness of this plant and uses it. And then using it also away other people. It's like you unlock your chakras or your DNA. So people start to remember these things and start to use the plant and actually feel a particular way about it. One of the first functions of ganja is to build your immune system against ultraviolet rays. So it means then that ganja is one of the plants that you use to do what? Prevent most of the cancers, if not all of the cancers. So all research has shown that ganja is good for cancer fighting its functions, such as THC. And you ask yourself, what is the leading killer of people in the world today? It's stress. Herb is a plant, THC in particular, it removes stress. It transforms energy from one negative way into an next positive. That's what it's about. It's not no new energy. You shift, you focus, and start to see things in a very different kind of way. So you don't see no problem in them. You see, needs that are unsolved, which means that there are opportunities to solve those needs by doing what? Providing a good service. So the lens through which you see things becomes different. And unfortunately, within our own system, we have this big opportunity. But the lens through which we see it is the same old colonial lens. CDB is used to treat things that do with psychosis. That research came out of England. Yes? That's why there's a great demand for CDB herb in Europe, because the leading killer of people in Europe and America is now what? Dementia-related illnesses. Parkinson, Alzheimer's. That's M1 CDB and not THC. You have CBN, which is to stimulate appetite. So people who have cancers and all of these other issues and eating disorders will want the CBN. But it's also good for all the olfactory senses, you know. Ears, nose, and throat. So everything you do in your lung, everything you do in your ears, everything in your nose and your throat, because it what? It opens up a thing. The plant itself, in terms of the seed, have two of the most important fatty acids for your brain, which is called linoleic and linoleic, in the 1-to-3 ratio, the exact ratio in your brain. The only other plant that comes close to that is linseed, which has now 1-to-4 ratio. Most of these problems that people have, the plant is good for it. Ask them which other plant your body is designed to use. You just ask them, which other plant your body developed a system saying 50 million years ago, all beings on the earth develop an endocannabinoid system. Not man alone. Dog, puss, rat, bird, everything. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to really see what the research is saying. What the research is saying. It's good for everything. But it's now, we don't ready to own people's brain now. Especially people who are going to say mad people like Rasta. Or the Rasta by say, okay, herb is the healing of the nation, or herb is this. Or touch thing about it as a bush doctor and tell us, boy, it's good for this, and lawyers smoke it. Remember too, you know. Many places people use herb, and we don't just use ganja. We use different kind of herb. And this is part of the problem, because when them started to fight ganja, technically them started to fight every kind of natural consumption of other herbs as well. So a man have a headache, I don't want no rosemary, I don't want no almond leaf, because it's herbs, and you have to know how much you have to take, and suppose it poison you, and you must take a Fensic, you know. And then give everybody the same prescription, 2 Fensic, but yes, all their structure different. So the same 2 Fensic for solve every problem for everybody. You have something in your stomach that want to clear out, you don't take no fervor, no dark blood. You can take a leave, and then them announce by the TV, them have to call him back a leave, because kill off people are foreign. Foolishness.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Life will be right back.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters.
Call us at 876-291-6233 or 876-376-4225. Email sales@batvja.com.
Welcome back to The Good Life, where we are exploring the benefits of ganja with Dr. Kadamawe Knife. He shares his knowledge based on extensive research on the plant and some of his opinions on Jamaica's response to the growing worldwide use of ganja.
We now learn that there's a high demand for CBD plants in the world, which is in the Euro-American world. And what we know is that we're focusing so much on that technically we start to make the part that we have the advantage in almost criminal. If you have a lot of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's in Europe, they want CDB in the herb. Now, if you understand the ganja plant, CDB is naturally, it don't occur in plants in a naturally high amount, you know. But it's still an amount that can treat some of those things. What they're doing now is to take the plant into the lab to create a plant that have high levels of CDB and low levels of THC. It is the first concern that we have with those kind of herbs and things. Nonetheless, I am saying if the plant itself can produce pharmaceutical products that can treat those things, well, they can do it. However, know that they must make concurrently. But the thing that I'm not naturally having in the country, but the thing that you try to promote. Jamaica is known internationally for what? Pharmaceuticals? No. We're known internationally for being a wellness space. So if you ask a man, tell me some Jamaican word, all of the word relate to feeling good about yourself. Some man are going to say irie, some man say love. You must say all of these things because the country is known for wellness. And we see where it come from. See, now if you listen to Ed Bartlett test, when they do the assessment of what words trigger people to come to Jamaica. Love, food, and music. And cancer, ganja tree, my minister. So we're not using that opportunity and so we have a win-win scenario where everybody can benefit, whether you are a foreign direct investor or a local person. See, at a macro or a micro level. We turn it into what we call a zero-sum game, which means that if some people are going to win, like the pharmaceutical people, it means that the people who do the things organically are going to lose. And that don't make no sense.
When it's green, you squeeze the juice from it, it's the best for eye. It's kill all cataract and everything.
Now, I argue that we need to standardize and regularize. It is much, much more difficult to standardize and regularize things for the pharmaceutical industry than it is for the food industry. And SRC and the Bureau of Standards are some master industries, some master institutions that can help us to standardize these things. See? So when we hear them argue about edibles, I know edibles is this and edibles is that. It shows you how almost backward the people can be. THC is amplified by heat. So therefore, if you cook herb, it magnifies the amount of THC that's within that thing that you eat. So what does that mean? Does that mean that there's a problem in using herb in the plant, in the food? No. It means then we can get a lot more from the same herb than we actually do now. When I say shift focus, when I say broaden your focus and don't be myopic in what you're doing, don't be a copybugger. And the bigger part of the industry is the wellness part, it's not the pharmaceutical part. That is why we talk about functional food. We're not talking about nutraceuticals alone, you know, because they still want to make nutraceuticals sound like it's pharmaceuticals. It's like nutraceuticals is taking the active out of a plant, whether it be ganja, ginger, whatever. Functional food is using the actives in things for consumption, which means then I can make, and I like to use this example, I can make a chocolate from Highgate, which is a nice brand chocolate, and infuse it with something like a CBN, which is an active in ganja plant. See? Or THC, CBN because it stimulates appetite. So I target people who knows they need to eat food but want something nice to take to eat food. People who have AIDS and cancer and anorexia. So you want to eat that chocolate kind, it really tastes good, but when you eat it now, that makes you want to eat other food as well. So again, you have to take a regular tablet. Or use THC with things like rosemary and almond leaf as what? Just as people buy St. John's wort to reduce stress. We use it that way there. Remove all of your stress. You can put it in anything. I can use the same starting from the ganja plant and make incense and create incense. And what is the beauty about this? You can do this at all three levels. It's the only plant you can do it at three levels now. And Jamaica, you can do it at the community level in terms of branding, the parish level, as well as the national level. Because if you understand ganja in Jamaica, people will argue that Sunny Hill in St. Thomas is a place that plant good herb. But a man takes a Green Hill and Orange Hill plant good herb. A man takes a Bull Savannah plant good herb. Or Lucky Valley in St. Andrew plant good herb. or the best herb usually planted in St. Andrew in the 1980s. So what I tell you? At different points in time, people say the best herb plant in different places in Jamaica, which means that the best herb plant in Jamaica, there's a people that think we can plant the best herb anywhere in Jamaica. Now, can you imagine the amount of branding that you can take, that you can use across the island? You have to realize what opportunities are. I'm not fighting a pharmaceutical now, but I tell you, just look at what we can do with branding. Man is the only animal that cook food and eat. Rastafari is free meditation. Every man have a right to decide their own destiny, man. The person who you can tell how to live is yourself. See? So I say, I don't want no food by the fire. Some don't eat. Rastafari says life. And so we find out when you put fire upon the food, you take out some of the life out of it. So you want to get the full life by food, eat it without putting fire upon it. But you still can't tell a man how to live, you know. So I'm going to tell you, watch you know, you stop eating cooked food. You still have to work, and the ganja is one of the best things to eat. So with I know, it's sativa herb I promote. 6 to 9 months, ital herb. See, I'm going to take it serious because remember, the whole of my ample design for use herb, you know. So it means that you must put the best thing inside your system. So a long time herb, the rest of the plant is the best herb to use. All these things that man them come up with, no, it's just like some of the food now. See, so a long time people usually eat free-range chicken. We take long and you put a nail in the pot and cook him. You don't want that now, you want a chicken, which is a baby chicken. We take 6 weeks and end up with arsenic and all kinds of things, give people fibroids. The same with the herb. Them don't want a 6 to 9 month herb, so they start grow some short day herb, some short breed herb. 8 weeks. Where the man have to alter the seed to increase the amount of THC. Why? Because THC is stimulated by sunlight. So the longer the exposure of the plant in the sunlight is the more THC. So if you want to get the same amount of THC in a shorter period of time, what you have to do? Change the structure of the plant. So indica is not the area plant to use, as far as I'm concerned. If you understand plant science, plants work in a holistic way. When you start to take on separate plants, it becomes less effective. When you steam the herb now, it goes into your lung directly, which means then, when your blood is passing through that vein, that is passes through your lung and it's being oxygenated, it takes up the herb immediately. So it's the fastest way of getting herb inside your system, you know. It's not an injection, because when you get an injection, it don't go in your vein directly, you know. It goes on your skin and tries to find its way into your vein. So the most effective way of getting herb into your system quickly, and another way that is at the least amount of carbon, as far as I'm concerned, is through steaming. But the argument about smoking herb can cure a problem. No man, that's just something which is just false information. THC actually builds back the wall of your lung, repair the wall of your lung. So the concern about smoking can't that you're going to get sick from smoking herb. Just that the concern you say, okay, you don't want to put no more carbon inside of your system, which you don't need to. And so I ask people if you smoke a spliff every day, see? And how much spliff a day you smoke? I'm going to say 2 spliff or 3 spliff a day. But that's 365 times 2. That's almost 700 paper, piece of paper you smoke for the year. So you really don't need to be smoking no paper. But you know some people make hemp, Rizla. So all those things are there. Now, some people say the carbon might be the concern. My other concern about smoking is that it is not economical. Because when you go to light a spliff or light a chalice, most of the herb gone in the ear and less gone inside of you. So we don't smoke no herb, we just steam the herb. See, and it's not no magic we are doing, you know. A long time people do it, man. It's like when you bake pudding and put the fire on top of it. See? So you have something that separates the fire from the herb. And when you pull it, the heat from it passes through the herb. It cools under the water and condenses. It's aromatherapy. You can use it with any plant you want. Now, that is more efficient. There's almost 0 carbon because anything that comes through is captured in the water. This is what the long time bingy man them usually know. Now, when you eat herb, it goes on your digestive system and takes a longer time to start to break down, but it stays longer in your system now. Because it starts to release more slowly. That's why when people cook herb and it's in your gut for a long while, it release slowly so you feel that kind of feeling for a much longer period of time. You know, say a man who smoke herb don't like smoke herb in a public space. Him like going down space, him have him create him own space. And naturally we know that. We don't want no cigarette smoking, we don't want no jerk pan smoking, we don't want no car smoking, and we don't want no herb smoking in no public space. Because people respond different to those things and things still, see? So, we don't want no designated smoking area either. Yeah, we don't want that. I mean, because the attempt says that, say, If you think that smoking is bad, why you designate place for them go smoke? You've been a hypocrite. Go find somewhere by yourself. Go smoke if you want. Don't create a nuisance for people and things to you. See how? In a private space, you do what you want to do.
Don't go anywhere. The Good Life will be right back. Cameo takes you behind the scenes of Jamaica's exploding creative industries to give you an insider's look at how creatives get the job done.
I'm really picky about how we treat our customers.
As creative people, we went a little bit over the top.
Each week, we interview innovators leading the charge in their industry. The chaos of creativity meets the stricture of structure on Business Access TV's Cameo. Welcome back to The Good Life. We wrap things up with Dr. Kadamawe Knife as he shares his concerns with the current state of the industry and gives his final thoughts on what he believes could promote and grow the industry in Jamaica and, by extension, the Caribbean.
I will argue that imported bad food and lifestyle practices kill more people in Jamaica than gunshot. Less than 3,000 people dead last year from gunshot. And in 2016, more than 15,000 people dead from diabetes alone. 15,000 people, I mean, I talk high blood pressure and heart disease yet. I mean, there's no big strategy as to how we are going to halt that. But do appreciate some years, some of the things I say, boy, drink more water and less sugar, because way. So I see them talk some things. But I say, it's all there was a big strategy to fight crime and lack of people. But there's no big strategy now to fight down the crime and now we are killing people, which is through food. Now the point we're making though is that if we start to do ganja as agriculture and use it now as a catalyst, we start getting people starting with ganja with health and wellness and agriculture that kind of way, you start to address not only economic issues but health issues as well. Because if you are plant food and plant clean food, the people must get less sick. Must. We should say, okay, our focus on building out what we have, which is and them disrespectful, but I call it recreational. We have the wellness part of the industry, in the ganja industry. And we're going to expand it to facilitate the pharmaceutical component. So those who want to do the pharmaceuticals can deal it, but we are going to focus our money and energy on the wellness component. So you're trying to take a lead in an area that you can't lead in, while neglecting the area that you already lead in. I'm telling you, any guy who come to this space will have a strong right as a bonus spliff. Right, that's how the same cool breeze we are disturbing interview with. It's a one of the best experience. So bonus spliff and then go buy food from the people might eat. I tell you, I'm going to tell him grandpa about that story. You know. Say about telling grandpa to take a ganja tablet. That's just a story. There's medication they're taking, man. Enough name out there here. Them like to categorize them as skunk and kush. We have about 20 different skunk names or 20 different kush names. What we want to grow is a particular strain of herb, which is a sativa. So you have the broad categories of sativa and indica. We are promoting sativa herb, the 6 to 9 months herb. Ital, that means you don't put anything on it that come from animal, it's plant alone grow it. That's how to promote it. See? Now, Jamaica should have things like them called goat shit and lamb's bread and all different kind of herbs that are sativa herb as well, thyme herb. But those were destroyed. The same thing. Some seeds still exist, so we focus on getting those seeds. Now, nowadays, you have all kind of skunk herb because the license itself is prohibitive and shows that they don't really understand what they want to move. Because the licensing process is required because they're doing what? Pharmaceutical ganja. I've been doing pharmaceutical ganja because of the regulations for production. You have to get all of these things in place. So that is for one section of the economy. Now the part that we're speaking about the wellness doesn't require those things. So we'll argue. There's always have a man with a bar who says that he might get the license at whatever. The same thing I do with the herb people who are involved in these kind of things at the community level. But I think it's important to regularize it. Someone, the man within the community knows him have the best herbs that sell. I'm putting them jar and them, make it iron official. But the while like it's a hide thing you depend and then it's a hustling. No. Make people know it's free for you so you can do it properly, man. Because you know, Jamaican people like to present them things properly too, you know. So don't make it look like it's a gym screechy thing. Give them the same kind of freedom. But say what you know, you have to have them standard there, you know. You can't sell the herb in a plastic bag because the herb eat up in the plastic bag, put in a glass jars. And put in a dark glass jar because it make the herb stay long and, you know, show them how to do it properly and things. Now when you check it now, 10,000 for your distribution of what? 10,000 US, you know, not 10,000 Jamaican. The prices are not even quoted in Jamaica, they're quoted in US, so it's can't be your target. So there's a different kind of thinking surrounding that component. And that's what I'm saying with the dual space. You have to have your pharmaceutical space, you put those restrictions here. But the wellness part that relates to Jamaica, you don't put those restrictions, but you put standards and quality control. So who knows if you have an edible, we know the Bureau of Standard passed and SRC help you the formulation for you know say alright you have the right amount of things inside there. Get rather the strength now for coming through the marketing and them home economics thing, for come show them how to do the thing using the standards. You know? Make it happen properly. Herb, like we call high altitude and long exposure to sunlight. Jamaica, we have 10 hours of sunlight, we have high altitude with a volcanic space. Remember, we call it volcanic because it means we have a lot more minerals in our earth than places that are not volcanic. Because when you have volcano, we do carry precious minerals from the core come up to the surface. So it's just good earth we have now. We have enough gold and diamond in Jamaica, enough crystals because we're volcanic. It means that because we have the high altitude and long exposure, our ganja, once it is exposed to the sun, it's going to be much, much better. But across the Caribbean, while they might not be like Jamaica, but you have places that can do similar things. St. Lucia, which is mountainous. Dominica, which is mountainous. Haiti, which was mountainous, would have been good places to plant. Forget highs of THC. Montserrat might be good to plant. Definitely good to plant herb with high THC because it's also mountainous and also have good exposure to sunlight. Barbados, Cayman, Antigua, which are flat places, might be better to actually plant herb to get seed as food or forget fiber. Now they could have plant hemp though, you know. You know what I mean? Because them flats of them THC level not gonna be too high. A place like Guyana, Belize, Suriname can look at planting the industrial plant which is hemp. So the mountainous places plant the female and the flat places plant the semi-male female and the mainland places plant the male which is a hemp. So the region itself can control the entire value chain of the industry on both male and female. The Caribbean. Well, remember that Jamaica is in the Caribbean, because Jamaica is the only real Caribbean country. You know? We're at the center of the Caribbean, there's a certain level of magnetism in the earth, and the earth is electrical and magnetic, it's bioelectrical and magnetic. So you can't underplay the importance of those magnetic currents that surround the earth with all those things happening and things still. So you see, I'm not on ganja alone. I mean, all our food, the food levels, the taste, it's like it accentuates. And you know, the research that after show that Jamaica have higher levels of heavy metal in them earth though, which was a concern. But we realized that when we put in the water, the heavy metal dissipates. This is not a problem anymore. So remember, this is a good life now. It's important for people know that you only have one life to live. See? So you have to live healthy. Do things that you know is right. Be serious about it, man. Live well and live the good life, you know?
This 1 degree, you're able to do many things.
I think the field found me.
I'd rather work with the deceased than work with the living.
Let us open your mind to careers you've never considered.
Miniature model maker.
Game technician.
Animator.
With environment.
Career moves.
Anywhere money is, that's where I am.
My name is Herbert Chung, Executive Chairman,
co-founder, Honeybun 1982 Limited. You're watching Business Access TV. Serious about this.